Similar, मतलब मिलता जुलता.
Okay. I don't think that's what simile is. Let's get Sanya Momin's answer as well. Go ahead, Sanya.
Simile means comparison of two things with as or like.
Okay, that's a very accurate definition of simile. So what Lakshmi was saying, things that are similar, it's not 100% incorrect, right? Things that are similar, हाँ थोड़ा बहुत, but उनको हम compare कर रहे हैं as or like use करके, okay? When it comes to simile, if I'm comparing through two things, by simile, you will know it is simile. Why? Because you'll be able to clearly see. Okay, she walks like a queen. Okay, she walks like a queen. That means that I'm using like here, right? So the word like will tell me this is a simile. Okay, I am comparing the way in the manner of her walking to that of a queen's. Okay, you look like you've had a bad day. This is also simile. Okay, what would a person look like if they had a bad day? They would probably have a sad face, right? You look like that. Okay, as simple as that. That's your simile. Okay.
For
Now,
example, Didi, you teaching like a teacher.
yeah, I'm teaching like a teacher, or let's say I'm teaching. Let's say your friend is teaching like a teacher. You know, Muskan, she teaches like a teacher. You know, when she teaches something, I understand it so well. You know, you have some of those friends जो बहुत अच्छे से समझाते हैं आपको topics, right? So that is how simile will be. Okay. Hi Shahnaz, I know you were a little late. So what we're doing is we're doing figures of speech. Okay, and we have started with simile. So simile का telling factor क्या हो जाएगा हमारे लिए? Comparison होगा. Okay. And क्या होगा? Definitely you'll be like or as, like as, ऐसे words use होंगे और आपको उसको देख के पता चल जाएगा. Okay, he's as tall as let's say he's as tall as 6 feet. Okay, so that means that's how tall he is. All right, I'm not comparing him to 6 feet, but I'm giving you a rough idea of what it would be like. So that is also a place where a simile could be there. The best thing about simile is that when you see as and like, just underline it and know it's simile. Okay, it'll be the easiest one to understand. Okay, that's why we like simile, and that is why when you're learning figures of speech, simile might most of the times would be the first thing that you start with. Okay, now let's look at our next one. Okay, the next thing that we will do is, because this should be done right after simile, is a metaphor. Okay, what is a metaphor? Do we know what a metaphor is? Anybody here knows what a metaphor is?
Didi, can I guess?
Yes, please go ahead.
चढ़ा बढ़ा के बोलना. For example, हल्की सी चाय गिर गई तो बोलने का पूरा कप गिर गया, पूरा घर गंदा हो गया, पानी का खर्चा होगा. For example, like this.
Okay. Now what Lakshmi is talking about is actually a figure of speech. So ये याद रखना Lakshmi जो आपने मुझे answer दिया है.
Hyperbole. Hyperbole.
Yes, this is hyperbole. And good, very good. So that's one figure of speech, but this metaphor is slightly different. Yes, Sanya, what do you have to say?
That is in the indirect comparison between two things.
Yes, it is indirect comparison. And very good, brilliant answer. I think Sanya Momin also had her hand up. Yes, Sanya, what were you saying?
Indirect with like or as.
Sorry?
Comparison without like.
Yes, a lot of people write this definition for metaphor as well. If simile is a comparison with like and as, then a metaphor is a comparison without like or as. Okay, so basically a metaphor would be me saying that, you know, Sanya is a tree. Now, well, Sanya is definitely not a tree, right? But I am talking about Sanya as if she was a tree. Okay, so I am using tree as a metaphor here. Okay, let's say they were fighting with their pens. Now you can't fight with your pens. but they were probably writing something and fighting through text. So then you'll say they were fighting with their pens. Now, I know these examples sound very complicated. I don't know why my brain works like this. A lot of complicated examples comes to me when we're talking about poetry. But we're going to look at poems from your own chapters, and then I want you to see, okay, when do I have a comparison? When, you'll know it's a comparison because that's not how you usually talk about that thing. But it will be a comparison without like or as, okay? And as Sanya Kesarwani, okay, now I'll stay with your full surnames, okay? As Sanya Kesarwani clearly pointed out, it's going to be an indirect comparison. It won't look like a comparison, but it is one, okay? And when you see it, you'll know what it is.
Didi, it is not reality. It is not reality, no?
Yes, it's not reality. Basically, in poetry, you'll see that most of the times it's slightly far away from reality, okay? That is why it is called poetry. That's why it comes to, that's why we know it as poetry. It's a very good point, actually, Lakshmi. I'll expand upon it that, later as well. Okay, now let's take a look at our third figure of speech. We're going to do 5 figures of speech. Then we're going to go to poetry, our poems, take a look at how we can locate them, and then we'll move forward, okay? Now we're going to talk about alliteration. Now this one is very easy to spot, just like simile was, okay? Do any of us know what alliteration is? Go ahead, Muskan, very good.
Yes, it is sound match.
Yes, matching sound. Shahnaz, do you also want to give a further explanation?
Yes, Didi. If a alphabet repeated, so it's called alliteration.
Perfect. And Sanya, please add on to Shahnaz's answer. I know she said everything. What do I say now? Okay. Yes. So alliteration what will happen is there will be the repetition of a letter. Okay. All right. One letter or one sound. So the sh sound, so not just S, but sh as a sound can also be repeated. Okay. She said, she sells on the seashore. Wow, that's a tongue twister, but okay. So basically the SH sound can also be repeated. So it can be either a letter or a sound. Okay. The repetition of a letter or a sound. All right. And it'll be very easy to identify because if you see a lot of C's together, and if you see a lot of S's together, and when you say it aloud, it sounds similar, you know it's alliteration. Okay? It's very commonly used and it's very easy to identify. All right? Now let's come to another very common one. Let's talk a little bit about personification. Okay? Who knows what personification is? Yes, Muskan, go ahead.
Yeah.
Or like,
Living things compared to not living things.
So you're saying living thing gets compared to non-living things?
Yes.
Okay. What does Lakshmi?
Just like बारिश के बूंदे डांस कर रही हैं, but वो डांस नहीं करती.
Yes. So your example is completely correct, but the explanation you've given for the example is slightly off. Okay. So बारिश की बूंदे are non-living thing, right?
हाँ, non-living thing compared to living thing.
Yes, perfect. I'm gonna come. So Lakshmi and Sanya, keep your hands up for the next one. I'm gonna come to you. Okay. So what happens in personification is we basically compare, we basically talk about or compare a non-living thing as if it was a living thing. Okay. My, my water bottle was crying because I was not using it at all. Now your water bottle cannot cry, right? But for the sake of a comparison, for the sake of explaining my thought towards you, and this is completely purely poetic, that we personify a water bottle. You can similarly personify anything and everything. One of the poems where you will definitely see personification is your cherry tree. You know, when we come to cherry tree, you'll be able to see the cherry tree was personified a lot, right? So personification mein what happens is a non-living thing, okay, gets talked about like a person. Person is in its very name, right? So it gets talked about like a person, all right? It is not just brought to life, but you talk about it like a person, all right? Sometimes, let's say, when it's a tree, you know, it's already living, right? It's technically alive, but you're comparing it, it's like you're talking about it as if it was behaving like a person, okay? Now let's do one more.
Didi, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
दीदी ये खाली नॉन लिविंग थिंग पे डिपेंडेंट करता है. फॉर एग्जांपल लिविंग पे भी हो सकता है ना कि ह्यूमन बीइंग लाइक अ डॉग, वो बोल रहा है डॉग की तरफ से इफ आई डॉग डू देन आई फील बैड, समवन लाफिंग लाइक दिस, तो ये भी पर्सोनिफिकेशन ही हुआ ना?
नहीं बच्चे, पर्सोनिफिकेशन में जो वर्ड पर्सन है ना वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. मैं किसी पर्सन से कंपेयर कर रही हूँ. इट्स नॉट नॉन लिविंग थिंग को लिविंग बनाना. इट्स पर्सन मीन्स इंसान. सो इंसान की क्वालिटीज देना किसी नॉन लिविंग थिंग को. ओके, सो पर्सन को तो हम कैसे पर्सन से कंपेयर करेंगे? फिर तो वो सिमिली या मेटाफोर हो जाएगा, राइट? सेम चीज को सेम जैसी चीज से कंपेयर करोगे तो या तो सिमिली होगा वरना मेटाफोर. यहाँ पे किसी नॉन लिविंग चीज को ऐसा बता रहे, उसके बारे में we'll talk as if it was alive, as if it was a person. Okay, my door was telling me to not open it. Now my door cannot talk to me, only people can talk to me. Dogs also can't talk to me, right? So now here I am personifying my door. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes Didi, thank you.
Perfect. Now there is something when you talk about personification, this is one term that might come to you if you are, you know, looking a little bit deeper into personification. Okay, the name of that term is pathetic fallacy. Okay, now I was not going to do this with you at first, but then I realized some of your books actually have this word. Okay, some of your questions in the previous years have used this particular figure of speech, so we're going to do this. Okay, it's not difficult, but we'll have to, it's slightly technical. Okay, I'm just going to paste something here. Wow, it's a long one. All right. So pathetic fallacy. Now, पहले हम लोग ना pathetic word का meaning समझते हैं, ठीक है? Pathetic का मतलब होता है कोई बहुत ही खराब चीज. Okay? That show is just pathetic. I don't like it. It's very void. I don't like it. It's very violent. Okay? Pathetic means बहुत ही खराब. Okay? But pathetic that we're using here is not the pathetic. That's the pathetic in English. But you need to know the pathetic in English as well. In case it's just pathetic and not pathetic fallacy. Okay? Pathetic without fallacy, separate word means something which is very bakwas, very kharab. Okay? That's pathetic. Now coming to pathetic fallacy. Okay? Now pathetic fallacy and personification, two figures of speech, they're confused. मतलब ऐसा लगता है कि जो पैथेटिक फैलेसी ऐसा लगता है वो पर्सोनिफिकेशन होगा, पर्सोनिफिकेशन कभी कभी लगता है पैथेटिक फैलेसी होगा. तो पहले समझते हैं कि पैथेटिक फैलेसी होता क्या है. ओके, ह्यूमन एट्रीब्यूट्स. पर्सोनिफिकेशन में भी ह्यूमन एट्रीब्यूट्स मीन पर्सन, जो मैं बोल रही हूँ ना, ह्यूमन एट्रीब्यूट्स एब्स्ट्रैक्ट आइडियाज को दिए जाते हैं और एनिमेट ऑब्जेक्ट्स ऑफ नेचर को दिए जाते हैं. सो जब लक्ष्मी ने डॉग का एग्जाम्पल दिया, you know, my dog was, let's say, my dog really loves watching Anupama. Do you guys know about Anupama? But it's a very, my nanny, she loves it. Okay, so
I guess the very famous serials.
good. So my dog loves Anupama. Now, people can, human beings can watch Anupama and love it. Dogs really can't. So here I'm, you know, comparing that animate object of nature. Animate means कोई भी चीज जो जिंदा. Okay. Animate and inanimate. I think one of your classmates a while ago had used the word animate in class. I'm not able to remember the name of that person, but I was very, you know, I was so happy. So animate means कोई भी चीज जो जिंदा होती है. Inanimate means कोई भी चीज जो नहीं होती है. Okay, animate objects of nature को जब हम ह्यूमन क्वालिटीज दे देते हैं तो पैथेटिक फैलेसी में आता है. ओके, सो एवरी पैथेटिक फैलेसी इज personification in one way. ठीक है, but every personification is not a pathetic fallacy. Have you guys heard this one before in mathematics? It's called a closed set. No, I understand, Shanaz, because I'm not very good. I was not very good at maths. Basically, ये होता है, जो भी चीज pathetic fallacy के criteria में आएगी, let's take a look at it this way. All girls are human beings, okay? But not all human beings are girls. Some human beings are boys, okay? Are you getting it? It's like that. So all pathetic fallacy is a form of personification. हो रहा है उसमें, but not all personification में pathetic fallacy आएगा. Okay, pathetic fallacy ऐसे आप मान लो कि personification बड़ा सा बैग है, उस बैग में से छोटा सा पार्ट होगा जो pathetic fallacy का होगा, ठीक है? और उसमें pathetic fallacy में क्या क्या आएगा? नेचर से रिलेटेड चीजें, बादल, पेड़, पौधे, इन सब को जब ह्यूमन कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स दी जाएंगी तो वो आ जाएगा pathetic fallacy. Okay, this is slightly technical, never comes that much. But 3 years ago, it came once in your 11th standard final examination in Maharashtra board. And a lot of people didn't know, right? So I'm telling it to you just in case it comes, okay? So that is pathetic fallacy. Now, if you don't understand it like 100%, that's okay. There's a high chance that it might not come. But you should have at least a rough idea of what it sounds like, okay? Just know it is something where it's like a sister to it's like a smaller sister to personification. Okay? Yes, Muskan, you have a doubt?
Yes, can you explain for example?
For example, yes, I'll give you an example. All right. Now, my example for personification was my door was asking me to keep it closed. Okay. Let's say that's my example for personification. Now, my example for pathetic fallacy would be my plant has been crying a lot lately because I haven't been watering it. Now, my plant is actually a living object of nature. Okay. It's an animate object, but it's not a human being. That becomes pathetic fallacy. Okay? कोई चीज जो कि natural होगी और जिंदा भी हो सकती है, but वो इंसान नहीं है, so वो चीज usually वैसे सोचती नहीं है, right? कभी कभी आपने ये सुना है, people say this, don't pluck leaves in the night because the plant gets hurt. Now the plant essentially, I'll tell you, I hate to break it down to you, but plants don't feel hurt. Okay, now that is a very good example of pathetic fallacy. Human beings, on the other hand, if you hit them, they definitely get hurt. Okay, so then you're comparing a plant to a human being. Okay, that is pathetic fallacy. कोई भी ऐसी चीज जो नेचर में है और जिंदा भी हो सकती है, उसको अगर आप ह्यूमन से कंपेयर करो, pathetic fallacy. किसी भी और चीज को अगर आप ह्यूमन वैल्यूज दो तो pathetic fallacy. T-shirt को, like my T-shirt does not like me. Now T-shirts can't like people, right? People like or dislike people. But this T-shirt को I'm personifying it. Okay, understood? ये example समझ में आया मुस्कान को?
Yes, दी हम लोग उसमें एनिमल्स को नहीं ला सकते, बस नेचर से जुड़े ला सकते हैं, just like
नहीं, animal नहीं, when I say natural, everything natural. So animals bad. जो भी नेचर में चीज जिंदा है, उस सब के कंपैरिजन में क्या आएगा? पैथेटिक फैलेसी आएगा. और नेचर में सब आते हैं, हम सब नेचर में पार्ट है. ओके?
तो जस्ट अभी मैंने बोला था कि बारिश को बोले लाइक डांस कर रही है, तो एक पर्सोनिफिकेशन है कि पैथेटिक फैलेसी है.
पर्सोनिफिकेशन है, बट अगर आपको और स्पेसिफिकली आंसर देना होगा तो ये पैथेटिक फैलेसी के अंडर आएगा. अब समझा? यस लक्ष्मी, प्लीज गो अहेड.
दीदी प्रथानी फेलोशिप में दीदी इसमें खाली जो जिंदे उन्हीं का आएगा, जैसे हो चुके डॉग्स, कैट, बटरफ्लाई, ऑल ऑफ थिंग.
यस, इसमें जो चीजें जिंदा है उसमें आएगा. बाकी हर चीज जो है, पूरी दुनिया की हर चीज को आप पर्सोनिफाई कर सकते हो. सन, मून, स्टार्स, एवरीथिंग कैन बी पर्सोनिफाइड. बट ऑल द थिंग्स दैट आर नेचुरल एंड लिविंग When you personify those things, then it becomes a pathetic fallacy.
दीदी फॉर एग्जाम्पल हमें एक जिंदे को लेना, मतलब एक जो जिंदा है उसे और नेचर को करना है, दोनों को साथ में लेके करना है, या नेचर रहेगा फिर भी चलेगा, या ह्यूमन बीइंग्स रहेगा, मतलब जो जिंदा है वो भी रहेगा तो भी चलेगा, कि दोनों का रहना इम्पोर्टेंट है कि एक भी रहेगा फिर भी चलेगा?
एक बार एक सेंटेंस एग्जांपल सेंटेंस बना के दिखाओ मेरे को, आप क्या बोल रहे हो उसका?
यस, फॉर एग्जाम्पल तितली फूल पे तितली फूल से रस निकाल रही है। हाँ, तो इस पे नेचर भी आया और जिंदा भी आया। फॉर एग्जाम्पल अभी हम बोलेंगे खाली कि फूल मुस्कुरा रहा है, फूल हंस रहा है, तो ये इसमें तो एक ही चीज आया, तो कौन सा सेंटेंस करेक्ट है फॉर इसके लिए?
So, जो तितली का रस निकालना है, so I'm gonna say it in English, and I want Lakshmi also to start talking more in English. So a butterfly, it basically takes out nectar from the flower, right? Now, butterfly taking out nectar from the flower is a very basic butterfly thing to do. Okay. Now, if the butterfly was talking to the flower, then it'd be a very human thing to do, because butterflies don't talk. Okay. In the second one, when you're saying the flower is smiling, that is definitely pathetic fallacy. That is personification, but it's also pathetic fallacy. Are you understanding? That is why I told you beforehand. All pathetic fallacies are personification. Okay. Jitni bhi pathetic fallacy hai, wo personification koi bhi cheez. Okay. See, personification ki definition mein to aata hai waise. A non-living thing gets talked about like a person. Right? But when you go into things in detail, people don't pay a lot of attention to this non-living part. Okay? And figures of speech, as it's confusing you, it confuses all of us. So don't worry, we are in the same boat. Okay? But इतना समझ लो कि कोई भी चीज, अगर पूरी दुनिया की कोई भी चीज है, टेबल, कुर्सी, बॉटल, घर, पेन, पेंसिल, कोई भी ऐसी चीज जो कि जिंदा नहीं है, वो पर्सोनिफिकेशन से कंपेयर होगी इंसान से। कोई भी चीज जो जिंदा है, डॉगी, पौधे, तितली, flowers, your trees, plants, all of those would come under pathetic fallacy. Okay? अब सबको समझा थोड़ा थोड़ा? Okay, whoever understood,
yes दीदी,
whoever understood, give me a thumbs up. Whoever didn't understand, you can raise your hands. Okay, I see a lot of people understood. Good, that's nice. All right. Yes, Muskan, you have a question?
Yes, Didi. दी अगर जैसे एक एग्जांपल है कि बटरफ्लाई फ्लावर से बात कर रही है, तो अगर इसमें पर्सोनिफिकेशन होगा या फिर पैथेटिक फेनेंसी होगा, तो हम लोग पहले पैथेटिक में करेंगे ना, कि बिकॉज उसमें लिविंग थिंग्स है। अगर हम लोगों को उसमें ऑप्शन नहीं है पैथेटिक फेनेंसी का, तो हम लोग उसको पर्सोनिफिकेशन में डाल सकते हैं।
Perfect. You understood it. Brilliant. Okay. So that's how you write the answer. And most of the times, if you say pathetic fallacy, nobody can call you wrong because that's the correct answer. Okay. Pathetic fallacy is what is happening there. A lot of people might not know what pathetic fallacy means, and that's sad. But what's happening is pathetic fallacy. You can trust me on that. Okay. I'm going to click a picture of this so that I can share it with you guys later. All right. But now that we have understood, हमने अभी 5 पढ़े हैं figures of speech. Okay. और भी होते हैं, पहले हम लोग थोड़े उनके एग्जाम्पल्स को और पढ़ के इसको पूरा we'll understand this very very well, and then we'll move on to other things. Now trust me, as a whole, okay, before I give you examples, as a whole, the concept of the figures of speech concept as a whole, it's slightly confusing, I'm not going to deny it, but once you understand it, you can use it for everything, every poem that you read. Marathi poems, Hindi poems, all poetry has it. Okay, so give yourself a lot of examples. Okay, a lot of things in English grammar you will see, they can be understood through examples, but also misunderstood through examples. A very good example of that is pathetic fallacy. Okay, you can misunderstand it also when it comes to examples. So understand the concept and then look at examples. Okay, we'll quickly recap this. All right. We did simile. Okay, simile means comparing things with like or as. Okay, simple. Whenever you see like or as in a sentence, you'll know it is simile. Okay. Second, we did metaphor. It's almost like the opposite of simile. There, the comparison was with like and as. Here, the comparison is without like and as. Okay. This one is direct because we're directly saying this is like that. I'm telling you I'm comparing something. In a metaphor, it's almost like I'm not even telling you that I'm comparing things. You know, but the comparison is there. Okay, so it's an indirect comparison. All right. Then we did alliteration. Alliteration may we have repetition of sound. Okay. The same letter of the word keeps getting repeated. Another very thing that is very easy to spot. Okay. Simile, metaphor, alliteration. Then what else did we do? We did personification. Yeah. Now that personification and pathetic fallacy we did hand in hand. I know those are two things that that could be slightly confusing from all the things that we did. So let's quickly recap that. Personification mein kya hota hai? Anything, any non-living thing, I'm taking that thing, comparing it to human beings. Okay. I am personifying it. Person jaisa bana rahi hu usko. Okay. In pathetic fallacy, what am I doing? I'm taking any animate thing, कोई जिंदा चीज, कोई नेचर की जिंदा चीज, बट इंसान के अलावा, इंसान को इंसान से कंपेयर करने का doesn't make sense. Anything other than something that is human, if I'm comparing that to human beings, that becomes pathetic fallacy. That could be anything from dogs to leaves to trees, anything and everything. Anything that is natural. Okay? Got it? Perfect. Now let's take a look at a couple of examples, because examples will help you out in this. First, let's take a look at examples in your book. Okay, I have highlighted for the first poem because I have not done the first one that I have written down, so I'll teach it here only. Okay, the first one that I'm showing you is something that we have not done yet. That is antithesis. Okay, antithesis में क्या होता है? Antithesis में दो opposite ideas को एक ही sentence में लिखा होता है. Okay, दो words जो एक दूसरे के opposite है वो same sentence में आते हैं. Alright. So cherries in this sentence, this is a sentence that has been given by your book as a solution. Okay, it's not an ideal example of antithesis, but cherries have a way of growing though no one is caring very much or knowing. Okay, growth is almost always affiliated with nurturing, है ना? Your mom or mother nature nurtures you. So caring is a concept that is very, very close to growing. So here two opposite concepts, not caring and growing, have come together. So it's an antithesis. Okay. It's important for two ideas to be there in that one sentence only for it to become antithesis. All right. ये एक important rule है antithesis होने के लिए. Okay. Anti का क्या मतलब होता है? Anti something. Right? Let's say I'm anti pink color. So that means I don't like pink color. I love pink color. I'm just giving it an example. Okay. My room is pink. But antithesis means किसी चीज के anti होना, किसी चीज को वो नहीं करना. Okay. So here antithesis में क्या होता है? दो ऐसी चीजें जो कि opposite होती हैं. Let's say she was beautiful in a very ugly way. It's a very poetic sentence. Right? But two ideas of beauty and being ugly are coming together in one sentence. That is antithesis. ठीक है? अगर आपको दो कोई भी ऐसे वर्ड्स दिखे जो आपको लगता है इनका ऑपोजिट मतलब होगा, तो आप उस सेंटेंस को, उस पर्टिकुलर चीज को एक एंटीथीसिस एज अ फिगर ऑफ स्पीच लिख सकते हो. Okay? Whenever there is an example of antithesis, it will become very clear to you that it is antithesis indeed. Okay? Now, enough about antithesis. Let's take a look at things that we've already done. Okay. Here, 5-month child lost in the tall grass, running wild. Now, this is actually an example of what? It's an example of personification, but it's also an example of what?
Pathetic fallacy.
Yes, very good. It's also an example of pathetic fallacy. All right. In its arms, in a fresh, fierce lust, the arms of the tree. So this is again personification as well as pathetic fallacy. Okay. Now let's take a look at this. Can you see this? Who watched Wandering While? The W sound is getting repeated, right? W, 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 W. All the letters, all the words here that are present here, they start with the letter W. So this is a good example of alliteration. It needn't be these many words, okay? Just the repetition of two words simultaneously means ek ke baad ek. The repetition of the letter simultaneously can also become alliteration, like growing green, greater gains, okay? All of this will become my examples for alliteration. Sleepiest breeze, जो breeze होती है हवा, तेज हवा, वो sleepy बताया. Sleepy is a human quality, okay? Now breeze को अगर हम लोग sleepy करेंगे तो क्या होगा? Personification. Alright? Perfect. अभी थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ में आया हमको? So long as आपको कोई जबरदस्ती नहीं बोल रहा है कि personification के अलावा क्या है बताओ, you don't have to jump into the area of pathetic fallacy. Okay? जब तक कि आपको specifically पूछा ना जाए कि what else is this? Gunpoint. You don't have to, nobody's going to ask you gunpoint, but okay. Not a very good example. Take it back. But basically, so long as nobody's pushing you towards it, you don't have to dive into the aspects of pathetic fallacy. Okay? Again, that is something we are doing so that we can understand it and we are never lost if in case it comes. All right? In normal circumstances, if you see anything being compared to human things, go right ahead and say personification. Okay? Because when I was doing my research, I went to like 8 websites that give answers to your book, and every website has listed out all of these things, which are also pathetic fallacy as personification. And I was like, okay. All right. So it's safe to say you can go with personification 99% of the time. All right. Good. Everybody got it? Mm-hmm. All right. Perfect. Yes, Muskan, you have a doubt?
No, dear.
Okay. Perfect. Let's take a look at this poem that we did recently. अब इसमें जो हमने किया है, antithesis को भी include करना, okay? जो हमने किया है, let's read this poem, very short poem, and then let's try and find out all the figures of speech that we have just learned. Okay, इसमें कौन से दिख रहे हैं उसको आप देखते note करते रहना, make a mental note, and then I'll ask you guys. Okay, I'm reading the poem for you. The sower. Sitting in a porchway cool, sunlight I see dying fast. Twilight hastens onto rule. Working hours have well nigh passed. Shadows run across the lands, but a sower lingers still. Old in rags, he patient stands, looking on. I feel a thrill. Black and high, his silhouette dominates the furrows deep. Now to sow, the task is set. Soon shall come a time to reap. Marches he along the plain, to and fro, and scatters wide. From his hands, the precious grain, muse I as I see him stride. Darkness deepens, fades the light. Now he gestures to mine eyes. Now his gestures to mine eyes are august and strange. His height seems to touch the starry skies. Okay. First, let's revise the ones by picking out examples of the ones that we've already done. And then there are a few new ones here that I'll teach you along with the poem. Okay? So, just jisko ek aad bhi figure of speech mila, you can raise your hands and then tell us about it. Okay? Yes, Sanya Moomin, go ahead. Let's start with you.
Sunlight I see dying fast. Personification. Also, pathetic fallacy.
Perfect. Very good. It's a natural thing and it's compared to a human attribute. So that sunlight cannot die, right? But it's dying here. So that's pathetic fallacy or personification here. Perfect. Yes, Sanya. Now I'm talking to Sanya Kesarwani. Go ahead.
seems to touch the starry skies.
Mhm.
Alliteration.
Perfect. Starry skies. SS. Alliteration. Well done. Yes, Lakshmi, go ahead. Lakshmi, can you hear me?
Yes, Didi.
Yes. Go ahead. आपका क्या example था? Tell us.
His height seemed to touch the sky. ये था मेरा.
His height.
Personification.
His okay, the height is seeming to touch something. That is why you think it's personification. That's why you're calling it personification.
Yes, Didi.
Okay, very good. You know, height doesn't touch things. His height is seeming to touch things. That is personification. Okay.
एक और दीदी, soon shall come to time to rap. ये ultrasation.
Yes, we pronounce it as alliteration. Say it with me.
Alliteration.
Perfect. Alliteration, yes. Soon shall. SS. Alliteration. Well done. Very good. Yes, Bushra, go ahead.
Working hard have well nigh passed. Alliteration.
Yes, ours and have. Well done. HH. Alliteration. Yes, go ahead, Shahnaz.
Shadows run across the land. Personification.
Well done. Perfect. Shadows don't run, human beings run. Personification. Well done. Very good. Yes, Muskan, go ahead.
The twilight hastened on the roof, onto roof. Personification.
Can you please
Because
repeat?
twilight जल्दी जल्दी नहीं कर सकते twilight. क्योंकि हम
Yes.
लोग जल्दी
Hasten.
जल्दी
Very good. The twilight never hastens. Twilight does what it wants to do. Okay? Human beings, on the other hand, we can make hasty decisions and we hasten things up. Okay? All right. Personification. Very good. और किसी के पास कोई examples है? Shahnaz, do you have one more example? Or did you forget to put your hand down?
Yeah, Muse I as I see him stride. Repetition.
Muse I as I see him stride. What did you say? Call it repetition.
Repetition.
Perfect. Very good. I'm happy that you're bringing up new ones. Okay. So let's start with the one that Shahnaz has highlighted. I told you I'll do a couple of new ones along with this poem. Okay. Now, repetition is a very good one. Alliteration ka aisa chota sa, you can, alliteration and repetition are very, they're close to each other. They're like friends. In alliteration, a letter is getting repeated. In repetition, it's very easy to spot. The entire word gets repeated. Okay. Now, sometimes in the entire poem, you will see repetition. Okay. That means certain like, let's say if the poem is written to a person, maybe the name of that person becomes the thing that is, that is being in repetition. But sometimes you can see repetition in one sentence. Muse I as I see him stride. Most of the times the repetition comes in to emphasize upon something. Here I is trying to say मैं देख के ये सोच रहा हूँ, मैं ये अपनी ओर से कर रहा हूँ. Okay, I am doing this. That person is just doing his job. I am looking at him. Okay, I'm emphasizing on that. So that is why I'm using a repetition here. All right, let's quickly write it down, shall we? So, muse I as I see him stride. Okay, this is my repetition. All right. Now let's starting से एक बार देखते हैं कौन-कौन से और हैं. Okay. Sitting in a porchway cool. Is that how we usually frame my sentences? If I have to say it normally, I'll say I was sitting in a cool porchway. I won't say sitting in a porchway cool. Right? That's not how we usually say things. Do you guys agree or do you guys not agree? Agree?
I don't understand.
I'll repeat it again. So basically जब हम लोग normally बोलते हैं, let's say I want to talk to Lakshmi. That is how I usually say my sentence, right? Lakshmi, I want to talk to you.
Yes.
Now, here, if the sentence is almost like, want to talk to you, I. Want to talk to Lakshmi, I. So, in the end, I'm placing the I.
Inversion.
Yes, it's inversion. Very good. So, that's also very, it's not a very common, it's a very common one, but not a lot of people, use this or talk about this when we talk about figures of speech. Inversion mein kya hota hai? Your sentence is not how we usually say it. It's almost the opposite of it. Okay? Sunlight I see dying fast. That's also inversion. I see that sunlight is dying fast. Sunlight I see dying fast. Can you see? That's not how we usually frame that sentence, right? But a sower lingers still won't come in the end, but a sower is still lingering, still will come before the action of lingering. Okay, can you see? It's that we are exchanging the position of these words. Okay, so this is not a very, very, very common one, but this is something that you'll see in this poem especially. It's one of the most evident figures of speech that is coming into play. राइट इस पोएम को एक बार फिर से अगर आप ऊपर से ही देखो तो आपको दिख रहे हैं ढेर सारे सेंटेंसेस जिसमें इन्वर्जन हो रहा है, राइट? बेसिकली क्या होता है, करेक्ट ऑर्डर में नहीं है, एंड किसी भी चैप्टर में, किसी भी स्टोरी में, इफ यू आर रीडिंग अ स्टोरी, यू विल नेवर से थिंग्स लाइक दिस. सेइंग थिंग्स लाइक दिस वुड नॉट बी ओके. Okay, if you see that is happening, then it definitely means that there is inversion that is coming into play. Okay, inversion समझा सबको कि मैं और examples दूं? Perfect. Okay, so then we'll move on to another one that is here in this poem. Okay, so one second, I'm sure I lost something. All right. So sitting in the porchway, cool, sunlight I see dying fast. Twilight hastens onto roof. In 3 lines में ऐसा कुछ है, जिस कोई थीम है या कोई साउंड है जो आपको उससे निकल के आ रहा है सामने?
Didi, can you repeat again, please?
If we read the first 3 lines, okay, sitting in a porchway, cool. Sorry, my page is just disappearing in front of me. Sunlight I see dying fast. Twilight hastens onto roof. इन 3 सेंटेंसेस में कुछ सेंटिमेंट आपको बाहर निकल के आ रहा है, कोई ऐसी चीज जो पोएट बोलने की कोशिश कर रहा है, जो आपको इस सेंटेंस को पढ़ के, इन 3 सेंटेंसेस को पढ़ के हमको क्या समझ में आ रहा है?
दीदी वो बोल रहे कि मैं जहाँ ठंडी हवा वहां मैं बैठा हूँ और मैं देख रहा हूँ कि जो सूरज है वो फटाफट मतलब उनका लाइट्स आ रहे हैं और अभी मैं देख रहा हूँ कि मतलब शाम हो रहा है.
Perfect. So this is a description, this is a general description of what is happening, right? This is a description of the surroundings. आसपास की चीजों का description है. This is a very simple one. It's usually some people don't consider it as a figure of speech, but this is just called description. Okay? So you just describe what is happening. So it's description. As a figure of speech, or you can even call it as a normal form of expression. It's very commonly done actually in poetry. You go out of your way to describe how things look around you. और आप बहुत डिटेल में डिस्क्राइब करते हो, मैं कहाँ पे बैठा हूँ, इसमें there is a person who is talking, right? So where am I sitting? Where is the sower sitting? Or where is the sower, let's say, working? All of that is described with a lot of detail. Okay, so you are bringing out the scenery. Okay, so this is related to bringing out the scenery when you are talking about things in the big play of things. All right, ये सबको समझा?
Yes, Didi.
You're describing your scenery here. All right, perfect. और किसी को कोई मेरे figures of speech दिख रहा है इस poem में? We've done simile, we've done metaphor, we've done personification, we've done alliteration. और कोई दिख रहा है इसमें? जैसे you got out repetition, that was a good one. What else do we see?
दीदी ये repetition होगा. Now to show the text is a set.
Now to show the task is set is it's not repetition, it's the other one, the inversion that we did. Now the task is set for me to show things. That's the correct way to make this sentence. We are making it opposite and then we are talking about it. Make sense, Lakshmi?
Yes, didi.
Yes? It's okay if it's not making sense. You can ask me again, all right? Okay. There's one
दीदी
more. Yeah, go ahead.
दीदी फिगर ऑफ स्पीच तो समझ में आया, पर पोएम में से उसे निकालना थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो रहा है.
पोएम में से okay. I understand. अभी ना first time हमने किया है इसको, right? So थोड़ा सा difficult होगा, right? Once we have understood this as a concept slightly better, you'll be able to take it out very easily. But figures of speech ka true test, if I'm able to find out examples for it, that means I've understood it very well. Okay, so studying it with example is something that we will do for figures of speech. So you'll get it better. थोड़ा थोड़ा जैसे time pass होगा और ज़्यादा आपको अच्छे समझ में आता जाएगा. All right. Now we'll do one more, which is one of my favorites. Okay, this is actually, it comes directly from an alankar in Hindi. आपने अलंकार किए थे हिंदी ग्रामर में?
Yes, दीदी.
Yeah. Okay. So you know अतिशयोक्ति अलंकार? Yeah. अतिशयोक्ति अलंकार means किसी चीज को बहुत, that's the one that Lakshmi was talking about. किसी चीज को बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ा चढ़ा के बोलना. Okay. Yes, in English we call it a hyperbole. All right. Here, his height seems to touch the starry skies. Your height can't really touch sky, you know, or stars for that matter. Right. So that's a hyperbole. कोई भी ऐसी चीज जो आपको पढ़ के लगता है कि oh my god, how is this even possible? I don't think that's possible. They are just इसको क्या कहते हैं? We call it exaggeration. इसी चीज को बहुत बढ़ा चढ़ा के बोलने को इंग्लिश में क्या बोलते हैं? Exaggeration. Okay, so hyperbole is all about exaggeration. All right, hyperbole is very easy to see also. Yes, Shahnaz, go ahead.
दीदी फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर ऐसा क्वेश्चन आएगा, आई कैन बाय स्टार्स एंड मून्स फॉर यू, तो ये कौन सा फिगर ऑफ स्पीच होगा?
That is hyperbole. Okay, it's very commonly said in Hindi also, na? Chand tare khareed la. Right? So that's hyperbole.
Yes, this is an example.
Yeah, this is a very common example. You know, a lot of romantic things come under hyperbole sometimes. So let's say, my mistress's eyes are as bright as the sun. This is actually, I think it's Shakespeare. Very famous, but nobody's eyes can be as bright as the sun. I mean, she's beautiful, I get it. But nobody's eyes can be as bright as the sun, right? So that's a hyperbole. Okay? Understood, everyone? ये समझ में आया? ये वाले जितने हमने figures of speech के सबको समझ में आया? Okay,
Yes,
now
didi.
we have around 5 minutes left for our class. So now we won't add on any more figures of speech. But there are a few more, so we will do one more class with figures of speech. Okay? Don't worry, we are meeting twice a week now. So we'll be able to cover everything. Now I want all of you guys, whoever can turn their cameras on, quickly turn your cameras on, and we're going to do a quick revision. Okay? I think right now we are 7 people in the class, and it so happens that we have done, I think, 7 figures of speech today. So everyone is going to talk about one figure of speech and give me one example. Okay? If you
Yes,
go
didi,
first,
good idea.
if you go first, you can choose an easy one and get away with it.
Can I first?
Okay, Muskan has raised her hand. Muskan, Shahnaz, then Lakshmi. Okay? Go ahead, Muskan.
Simile is using like and as for comparison.
Yes, give me one example also.
I am beautiful like a moon.
Sorry?
I am beautiful like a moon.
Good, that's simile. You're beautiful like the moon. All right, go ahead, Shahnaz.
Well, I am talking to you, the butterflies. I am getting butterflies on my stomach. Personification.
So, but Look, this is not like an example of personification. This
Metaphor का example है, I think.
Yes, so you can't actually get butterflies in your stomach. I thought you were giving me an example for metaphor, and that's a perfect example of metaphor, Shanaz, okay? You're not using like or as, but that feeling, so that's a feeling you get, right? In your stomach. As you get this feeling, it's almost like there's like a bubbly feeling in your stomach, right? As if you're speaking in front of a huge crowd or a class. It feels like there are butterflies in your stomach. If you make that comparison without like, then it's a metaphor. समझा ये आपको? Okay, now that you've given me an example for metaphor, define a metaphor for me, and we can finish metaphor off. Go ahead. कैसे define करोगे आप metaphor को?
Metaphor is a comparison, but we don't use like or as, we said directly.
Very good. Perfect. And the example is going to be the sentence that she says, when I'm talking to you, I have butterflies in my stomach. You can't actually have butterflies in your stomach, but it feels like you have it. Okay? Indirect comparison. Perfect. Yes, Lakshmi.
I can't understood this sentence.
Nahi understood hua? So, okay. Butterflies in my stomach or butterflies in one's stomach, it's a very common phrase. Okay? ऐसे पेट में से कुछ होता है ना? Kuch hota is also it's the Hindi version of butterflies in your stomach. Basically, you feel like you don't feel very. It's like a good feeling. आपको समझ में आ रहा है वो feeling क्या है? जैसे एकदम से आपको बहुत बड़े से रूम के सामने कुछ बोलना होगा. जैसे पेट में ऐसे कुछ होता है ना, ऐसे थोड़ा सा ऐसे लाइट सा फील होता है. ऐसे टमी में कुछ होता है. वो समझा वो feeling? That feeling is described. No. Okay. How can I describe that? Oh, this is a good example. Let's say you're going high on like a roller coaster ride. So as soon as it goes down, something happens though in your stomach.
दीदी गुदगुदी बोल सकते हैं आप?
Yeah, it's like gudgudi. It feels like gudgudi sometimes.
Okay, yeah, understood.
So let's say the next time.
Can I make
Yes, Shanaz, go ahead.
देखो हम लोग मतलब ऐसा कभी भूख लगती है तो बोलते हैं ना हम लोग के पेट में चूहे कूद रहे हैं. एग्जैक्ट चूहे कूदते नहीं है बट वो हम लोग को फीलिंग आती है.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, that's a very good example for a metaphor. Well done, Shanaz. She's understood. Muskan, आपको समझा? Yeah. Now I want you to understand what butterflies in stomach feels. I want to teach it to you. Okay. But when focusing on the crux of the matter, metaphor you've understood now perfectly. Perfect. Yes, Lakshmi, go ahead. Which figure of speech do you want to talk to us about?
दीदी I like hyperbole.
Okay, you like hyperbole. Go ahead, give me an example.
For example, I try to say in English.
I want you to. Go ahead.
दीदी एक सेंटेंस बोल रही हूँ, एग्जैक्टली मेटाफोर है कि नहीं वो आप बता देना.
Metaphor की hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
Okay, go ahead.
In one day, I will complete my education. I will achieve my goal, and I am setting my what I imagine in my. Sorry, दीदी लगता है मैच नहीं करेगा.
No. I can understand what you're going for. You can't do all of that in one day, right?
Yes, sir.
So, let's say I'm going to finish my entire syllabus in one night. That's a hyperbole. Okay. Now, it's not a very obvious example of a hyperbole. If you're getting hyperbole in a poem, it'll be very obvious. Something that's impossible only. You might be able to, by some miracle of God, you might be able to finish your syllabus for once. But you can never be as tall as the star.
Didi, for example, I will solve in one day every problem.
Yeah. Or in fact, you can just say I can solve every problem in the world or every problem with our environment. And that's impossible. That's an hyperbole. Okay, perfect. You want to define what a hyperbole is? Go ahead. Lakshmi, I want you to define what a hyperbole is.
Yes, Didi. Hyper means what means we cannot be do in reality, but we are saying only what we are not taking action, but we are only talking about. This is means.
So that is our definition of an hyperbole. Okay, just talking and not acting. It's not a good thing to do, but that is not what the definition of a hyperbole is. Remember this word when it comes to hyperbole. Okay, exaggerated. या फिर बढ़ा चढ़ा के बोलना. Okay, you exaggerate something. Alright, when you exaggerate and talk about something, it becomes hyperbole. समझा लक्ष्मी? समझा आपको?
Yes, Didi.
Perfect.
Yes, Didi.
Perfect. Yes, Sanya, go ahead.
You scream, I scream. We both scream for ice cream.
This is alliteration. This is repetition. Perfect. So the word scream is being repeated thrice throughout the sentence, and repetition is very self-explanatory. Word bar bar repeat. Very good. Very nice example. Ice cream, you scream, you also ice cream. Good. Yes, Sanya. Sanya, moment. Go ahead.
Trees and grass love to dance in rainy season.
Sorry.
Personification. Trees and grasses love to dance. It's a personification and
Very good. So, you said, I think you said trees and grass love to dance in the rain, right?
in the rainy season.
In the rainy season. Perfect. They don't dance, human beings dance, and it's an example of both personification as well as pathetic fallacy. Well done. So she's covered 2 for us now. Rinki, did you also raise your hand? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think we're having some network issues. All right, so Sanya finished off 2 together. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've done 7. Yes, Shahnaz, go ahead.
Hello, Dee.
Hi, Rinki, bolo.
Yes, Dee. Pathetic fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
The wind whispered through the trees.
Perfect, very good. So the wind cannot whisper things, right? But it is something natural, and it's being compared to something human. That's an example of pathetic fallacy. Well done. Yes, Shahnaz, go ahead.
She said, I look cute. Alliteration.
She said SS, alliteration. Well done. Who else had raised their hand? Somebody just raised their hand and put it down again. Yes, Bushra.
2 or more words that start with the same sound. It's called alliteration.
Perfect. Thank you for defining alliteration. All right. I think we've mostly revised everything. I think one thing that we have not revised is inversion. All right.
Can I say, Didi, example
Yes.
of inverse?
Inversion.
I sit today night. I eat breakfast in today night.
Or let's say we don't say today night, we say tonight. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. But you never eat, so you can say it for dinner. But so, okay, I'm going to clarify this. When you say something that 2 things that don't go together is not inversion. The sentence for inversion, if you replace the 2 words, the sentence will become a perfect sentence that makes sense. Okay. Let's look at the one that Toru Dutt has used in The Sower. Sitting in a porchway, cool. It should ideally be a cool porchway. He just has switched those 2 words. Okay, the meaning remains same. If I switch it back, it'll become a perfect sentence. Okay, Lakshmi, are you seeing where there was a little problem with your answer? Are you seeing that?
Yes, Didi.
Perfect. But I'm very happy that you're trying. Yes, Muskan.
We can also say, may I come in? To come in, may I?
Yes, that's a good example of inversion. Okay, if I just switch the words that Muskan has said, it'll make a perfect sentence. All right. Perfect. आज जितने हमने figures of speech के सबको समझ में आया?
The antithesis बताइए.
Okay, let's revise antithesis as well. Yes, Shanaz, do you have an example for antithesis?
No, Didi, I have to ask
Didi.
something.
Okay, I'm going to finish antithesis. I'm going to answer your doubt. Yes, Lakshmi, go ahead.
No, दीदी मैं उसका एग्जाम्पल बताने वाली थी.
I know you were going to tell the example. Go ahead, tell me the example.
We have a body part, eyes, ear, elbow. That's it.
This is an example of
Alliteration. Repetition of a letter. E.
okay. Look, in alliteration, the first letter of the word is repeated. Okay, and in repetition, the entire word. So we have these body parts in my body. If body was coming twice, then it would become a good example of repetition. I'm going to quickly give you an example of antithesis. Okay, they were growing in death. You can't grow when you're dead. Okay, my dead plants were growing flowers. That's not possible. It's very poetic, by the way. You can, like in poetry, you'll definitely find sentences like these. Does not make sense. Two things that don't happen together. Antithesis. Okay, growth and death don't go well together. Okay, that's an example of antithesis. All right. Let's say laughter. She was crying while she was laughing. Very good example of antithesis. It happens sometimes, but that's an example of antithesis. You crying and laughter doesn't go together. Okay, opposite.
See, what is definition of antithesis?
Antithesis में एक sentence में opposite words use होते हैं. Okay, the important part is वो एक sentence में ही होना. Now poetry में full stop बहुत ही कम use होता है. Okay, जब तक comma लगा है तब तक वो एक ही sentence. Alright, after full stop you have a different sentence. Full stop, exclamation mark, question mark. These things separate sentences. Commas don't, so be careful of that. Yes, Muskan, go ahead.
We can also say Sita is beautiful, but Gita is ugly.
Yes, that's a good example of antithesis. Beautiful and ugly are coming in the same sentence. Good. Yes, Shanaz, now please ask your doubt.
Didi, if I say you are first from last, so this is the sentence in antithesis.
Yes. Okay. All right. Now, we've not finished figures of speech as such. We're going to do one more class on it and we're going to revise all of these things. But for now, does it seem like you've understood whatever we've done today? समझ में आया? कोई doubt है किसी को? Okay, give me a thumbs up if you've understood and then we'll end this class. We're already 10 minutes late. Got it? Got it, everyone? Perfect. Yes, Sanya, go ahead. Oh, you accidentally raised your hand. All right. Okay, got it. I'm going to end today's class. I will see you guys coming Thursday. We're going to revise this and then we're going to move forward. Okay. In the meantime, if you feel like there is something in your syllabus that hasn't been done here, just send that topic to me. Okay. So that I make it a point to finish it either with you or in the class. All right. Okay, guys. Bye-bye. I love you. Take care. Okay. And I'll see you coming Thursday. All right.
Thank you, Didi.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Didi.
Bye, Didi. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Didi.